Call the Board of Selectmen's meeting of Wednesday, March 18, 2020, to order. Would you please join us in the pledge of allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'd just like to speak to the taxpayer out and thank you for your patience during this epidemic. And we are available, our office is still being maintained, but there'll be no visitors coming in. I'm going to give you a number, I'm going to repeat it twice, that we can be reached at this office. 508-894-1267. I'll repeat it again, 894-1267. I've been on this board for 39 years, and this is probably one of the toughest years that we face. I will use all my experience and knowledge to see us through. I'd like to turn it over to Dave now, who would like to lead off here, our administrative assistant, Dave Gagney.
Thank you, Mr.
I just want to check, is that line open? Because it's still playing music.
I think it's playing music because no one has chimed in yet.
Oh, okay.
No one
All
has
right.
logged
Sorry to
into-
interrupt you, Dave.
No, that's okay. And are we on mute on that?
No.
Okay, good. So thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I just want to address the public who may be watching and tuning in right now in the board, just to give everybody the lay of the land. Because of the coronavirus, we're doing everything that we can to make sure that we keep all of our residents safe and keep all of our staff safe. So anybody who's watching right now, you're going to see this board is set up a little bit different, so that way everybody experiences 6 feet difference between them. What we've also done is we've had to bar the public. However, normally a violation of the open meeting law, but there was a change signed by Governor Baker last week that allowed technology now for us to be able to use remote participation as board members and for the public. So on the agenda, if anybody wants to be able to dial in, we placed the following phone number of 425-436-6316. Access code is 718124. If you call in, we ask you to put it on mute, because if you don't and your dog barks, we will hear it. If anything else happens, we'll hear the background. And if the chair and the board so advise, they will allow you to speak, but it's only upon the chair's discretion. So we just made it available in case you have a question and the board is willing to entertain the question. It's also available because not everybody in town has cable. We are streaming live for the first time ever on Channel 9. The technology needs to be upgraded, so we're going to work on that. Unfortunately, we're all coming in as black and white. However, we'll continue to work on it in the future, but you're watching us on Channel 9, and some people out there don't have Channel 9. That's why we put the teleconference as an option, because we're going to do our best to make sure that we're transparent. As always, our meeting is being videotaped and will be available on West Bridgewater YouTube for your local cable access station effective tomorrow. It's always within 24 hours. With that said, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, thanks, Dave, for your information. As we go through the public hearing, appointments, warrant boards, and selectmen business, ratify above, beyond LLC, Town Hall, and Fleet Center cleaning contract.
Yep, so unfortunately, we lost our cleaning company without much notice. We went out to bid. We received a handful of other bids. This one had very good references. It will be a little bit more. I had them start last week because, especially with everything going on, we had to start to sanitize our buildings. So as a result, they've started, and I'm asking you to ratify, it's a 1-year contract, and to ratify a town hall and fleet center, which is our DPW building, cleaning contract to Above and Beyond LLC.
Okay, any questions on that?
No, I'll make a motion to ratify the contract for Above and Beyond.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? There's none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Okay, ratify
Thank you.
FY non-union personnel contract, vehicle maintenance superintendent.
So this is our vehicle maintenance superintendent. It's a one-year contract for 2%.
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second? Discussion? There's none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so voted. Okay, we're going down to C now, March 30th, special town meeting.
So we currently have a special town meeting scheduled for March 30th. It only has 2 warrant articles on it. You discussed this at your last meeting, and a few things have changed since then. So under the governor's new order, we cannot have anybody over 25 people. At the federal level, it's now 10. Obviously, we can't have a special town meeting. So as a result, I think it would be prudent, after speaking to town council of the process, that I would ask the Board of Selectmen to cancel special town meeting. I will then pass that information along to the town moderator. According to Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 10A, the moderator will still have to actually appear that night and yell out to everybody who is in the audience that the meeting has been canceled, but that's the law. Obviously, in the meantime, we will also post, assuming that you take this affirmative vote, we will also post on our website and on our Facebook page to inform people that town meeting has been canceled, and we'll get it out any other way that you would prefer us to as well.
Do we have to declare the date we're postponing it to, or?
Not if you cancel it. If we were to continue it, then the answer would be yes, and we would continue it to our annual town meeting. However, because we're going to have a town meeting, if we cancel it, we could just put that warrant article into the annual town meeting warrant. I think it would be simpler and cleaner.
So I'll make a motion to cancel the special town meeting.
Do we have a second? Is there any other discussion? If there's none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so, okay. Recommendation on articles and approved motions, okay. Assign readers, 2 motions. So all of that.
Yep, that all goes
cancel
away.
out, okay. A budget hearing, and that's coming up at 7:15 approximately.
Yep, I will,
We're not quite there, huh?
would you like me, I could text the superintendent, she may be available now, and I'll see us
She's
to,
available now. I say that let's go on to the school budget for the
Okay.
hearing.
I have not received an impact from her yet.
okay.
Eldon, what do you think about going on to the town administrator's report while we wait?
Uh,
We don't have the invite yet.
Town administrator report, is that what you wish, or? You make that a motion to move
So
on?
moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that?
No, I'm fine with that.
Okay, do you have any problem with that?
Nope, whatever the
All
board
right,
decides.
town administrator's report.
All right, thank you very much. So first is a vote on the digital billboard on Walnut Street. You approved as a board a purchase and sale agreement last year. The zoning board of appeals denied the special permit. Legal counsel has been involved. We've been going over this now for about 9 months. Legal counsel's position, and I certainly concur, is that we would not be able to withstand a legal case. We've been attempting to get the proponent not to file in land court, and they haven't. Instead, what they've done is they've amended their request, and so we're going to bring it back before the zoning board of appeals, hopefully for an approval. In that original purchase and sale agreement, it spelled out how much, where the escrow money would be held and for how long, and it also spelled out how long the permitting process had to be completed by. We're now going to eclipse both of those times. So as a result, the vote that I'm going to be looking for, and there's contracts for you to sign in your packet, is one, a vote to extend the escrow period and to extend the permitting period to September 30th, 2020.
Any questions of that?
No, I'll make a motion to extend the escrow and permitting.
Second.
Second, any discussion? If there's none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so voted.
Thank you. COVID-19. So I don't have to get into a lot of details. We all know what we've been dealing with. It obviously has put a hamper on our operations as it has with everybody else. I have placed in your packet the considerable amount of work that we have done representing this board, trying to make sure that we keep all of our employees safe and all of our residents safe. Besides the normal, it's making sure that 6 feet distances, sanitizing everything, requiring people to wear gloves when entering the building. We had We've sent out multiple advisories, 3 to employees, 2 to our boards and committees, and 1 to our residences, informing them of all the things that we are doing. Lorna did an excellent job. She created a page on our webpage dedicated exclusively to COVID-19. I've been on countless calls with the Department of Public Health that also has CDC with them, along with our health agent, so we can get up-to-date information as well. And as you all know, I sent you all a detailed 3 to 4 page memo informing you exactly what it is that we're trying to do to make sure that we keep everybody safe. In the meantime, to go the additional steps, we also purchased safety radios that can be communicated between all of our departments, and therefore the Board of Selectmen's office has it here. In the highly unlikely event that for whatever reason, all other communication went down, we could still communicate with everyone. And I also formed an emergency management team made up of the police chief, fire chief, health agent, myself, and our assistant town administrator, and we talk almost every night, and we talk through the weekend as well. And the intent is to make sure that if there's any real information, to get it to me, and I will get it to you. As of right now, just so you're aware, in Massachusetts, 1,743 people have been tested for the virus, with 224 confirmed cases. That's as of the information today. We all know that we have some on our doorstep. However, we do not have any, at least at this point, in West Bridgewater. I will inform the board that we have had a couple of concerns where our ambulance service has picked up people complaining of like symptoms. However, those results have not come back yet, so we don't know if they're positive or negative. In the meantime, we have closed the doors to the public. We are asking everybody to work. I will tell you that that's created some challenges. And as a result, I firmly believe that starting next week is that the right course of action is to probably still remain closed to the public, but rotate our staff to only have or require 1 person per department to come in. That would be for the town hall, that would be for the library, and that would be for the council on aging. Our highway department can continue to run. I've sent out a memo that they're required to only have 1 person per vehicle at any one time. And when they're outside on the job site, they should be safe as well. Again, that work has to get done. Grass still has to cut, roads still have to be maintained. And they are not allowed to be within 6 feet of each other while they're on the job site. That memo has been sent out and they're adhering to it. Our public safety obviously is going to be maintained as well, police and fire. And as you know, our schools, which were originally closed for 2 weeks, have now been closed for 3 weeks. There are some other states out there that have now already officially closed for the rest of the year, Kansas being one today. And we have heard that most likely at least more weeks, if not longer, will be added to the school closing. As a result, I firmly believe, although I have no inside information, I firmly believe that a stay-at-home order or a shelter-in-place order will probably be issued this weekend from the governor, and if so, obviously everybody would have to adhere to that. If that does not occur, I'm looking for the board's support to allow me to make the decision to continue to keep the buildings closed to the public in the short term, and in reference to all of our offices, just have 1 person work and allow that respective department head to rotate their staff.
Okay, I want to thank you, Dave, for keeping us up with this, because it's certainly very, very important to us and the community. Okay, moving along with your...
So do you need a vote for this, David? Because I think what you're saying makes sense. I mean, that there's still town business that needs to be conducted. Bills need to be paid. Revenue needs to be collected. And at this point, the governor has not issued a shelter in place. And by rotating the staff, that seems fair, in lieu of if it's a complete shutdown.
Yeah.
And they'll be paid, correct?
Yes.
Everyone's being paid.
That would be my proposal, yes.
Yeah, so if they continue to, 1 person comes in to man a department and get the work done, everyone is being paid. They just need that commitment to come in until when and if there is a complete shutdown.
So I think we should also authorize David to make the decision if he wants more people, or if he makes the call to not have anyone. So I think we should make it more broad and allow him to make a decision for staffing in general.
Well, I agree. I think you give him more to move
Yeah.
in whatever direction he thinks that we need to go. Make that an emotion, that we give him the,
I
I don't think it
I think
requires a
I'm
motion, just a,
I think I'm okay with staffing. I'm not quite there with shutting the building down completely.
It'd be the
If
same
there's,
thing essentially.
well, if he shuts it down completely, no one is coming to work, right?
Yeah.
And if the governor hasn't issued that order and like communities aren't doing that yet, do we want to go to shutting it down completely?
Probably not, but hopefully David would use the same judgment
Yeah.
that we're thinking. I'm sure he would.
Yeah. No, I have no doubt in his judgment. Is that a decision you want to make, David, without, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with it if you want to have,
Well, as you know, maybe contrary to
Responsibility?
popular, I know, I confer with all three of you all the time.
Right.
So I wouldn't be making that decision without discussing with you first. I appreciate the support, and I certainly have no problem being the one to be put in that position because I'm here. But obviously, major decisions are always, I talk to all three of you individually all the time. So I will tell you, I have a core philosophical belief that our residents have paid taxes, they're compelled to pay taxes, and as a result of paying taxes, we deliver services. So I really want to still try to maintain those services to the best of our ability. However, there also comes a time where, like literally today, I'm not so sure we received a single phone call from anyone outside the town hall. They all have their own personal issues, concerns, health concerns, dealing with what they're dealing with. So there's a balancing act. But I'm more than willing to make the decision, but I'm informing the three of you that if I were to make that decision, I would consult with all of you first.
okay.
So I'll make a motion to authorize David to make decisions in regards to staffing and opening or closing of buildings due to this virus.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? If there's none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So voted.
All right, thank you. The last is that discuss potential emergency meetings. I'm going to ask you later in the meeting to declare a state of emergency. The state of emergency, we'll discuss why in a moment, but I just want to give you an FYI that once we declare a state of emergency, if we have to have emergency meetings, we may have the flexibility to do those through remote participation without requiring 48 hours notice. It has to be a real emergency. It has to be something that is compelling and is time sensitive. But I'm giving all three of you a heads up that I may call you and say, can we make a meeting tonight, do remote participation, and we'll post it, and that would be legal. And I'm just giving everybody an FYI on that.
Yep, very good.
In the Friendship Park. So
Oh, thank you.
I'll make a motion to close Friendship Park.
Is there
Second.
a second? Any discussion on that? If there's none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Eldon,
Yeah, wait a minute. Wait a
Oh,
minute.
sorry.
You have a question on that?
Yeah, just, they're gonna post at the park that it's closed due to the COVID-19 virus and post it on Facebook and get it out there to people
Sure.
that it is
Who's in
closed.
charge over there anyhow?
DPW director. But I've also spoken to the fire chief and the school superintendent, and they both concur we should close it.
Okay, all right.
Sorry about that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so voted. Thank you. Vote on,
So, school.
Yes, they sent one. It was in the spam folder. I tried to go on it. So she just sent a new one. I'm gonna click into that. It'll be there. Says you'll join the call when someone lets you in.
They're coming. Are they here now? They joined, but I don't know if they have audio. Oh, they have to turn the audio on?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm texting someone, I can see that.
Oh, I am. Hi.
Can you hear
are
us?
they in? They're in, but they don't have audio, they're muted, so I think they just need to go down to
Yep.
the, bottom portion of their screen.
You can hear us now?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Can you see all the board members?
Okay.
I don't think you're practicing social distancing.
We are, no, we had to reset up the office to do this, so we're trying to comply with all the requests and do the right thing, but still conduct business.
Yep. So, we just are gonna, do you want us to just start and go through our presentation and then we'll, questions, or David, do you wanna introduce or anything? Up to you guys.
No, I think, I mean, I'll just say this, it sounds like the entire school committee is on, Patty?
Yeah,
Okay.
Bill's gonna introduce everyone, so.
All right, cool. So we'll have the school committee on, they'll do their introductions, they do have a PowerPoint presentation, so we'll start it. Unfortunately, because our cable is so short and we wanted to make sure they could see, we couldn't do it through this laptop, we have to do it through that iPad. So they're gonna do the presentation, we'll place it up on the screen as we normally do. Lorna will scroll through and we'll do the best that we can with it, we'll just have to ask them to let us know when to switch slides.
Okay, I concur, and I wish we could have been live here, but I think we can get through this, and so you have the floor there, and we'll be listening.
All right, great, yeah, we can hear you, so I guess you can hear us too. So Bill, why don't you, start?
All right, good evening, Chairman Marrero and members of the board. Tonight we have a presentation for you about the needs of the school department for the fiscal year 21. Tonight with us, the school committee members, myself, Bill Flynn, Donna Hume, Susan Sullivan, Molly Smith, Jim Holden, also Superintendent Dr. Oakley, Principal Mark Bodwell, and our business manager, Kathy Grant. A quick outline of what we're going to do. We're going to get started with Dr. Oakley and a quick review of what the schools have been doing during these unprecedented times with the coronavirus. Then we're going to get into our presentation with myself, Mrs. Hume, Mr. Holden, and Dr. Oakley, and then Mrs. Sullivan will tie it all together and close us out. And then we'll ask if you have any questions. And now to get started is Dr. Oakley.
Hi, welcome. It's definitely an unprecedented and trying time, as you know. I'm sure it's been as crazy over there and at your homes and workplaces as it has been here, but I just wanted to kind of give you an update of what the school's been up to. As you know, we closed last Friday for 2 weeks, and then on Sunday, the governor closed us for 3 weeks, and it's unprecedented. We have no idea if it will be 3 weeks or it will be longer. My gut feeling is it could be longer, but you know, we're taking it a day or a week at a time. To this point, we have teachers who have, through Google Classroom and through Facebook Live, are doing online academic enrichment with our kids. It started today, and the key is to just keep the connection with the kids. It's not as much about the work as it is about keeping the connection, because kids are afraid, just like we're anxious about this, and it doesn't matter if you're a little kid or a big kid, they're afraid. And if we can keep some type of normalcy with them by giving them some educational activities and giving them the connection, then that's what we're trying to do. We also partnered with the food pantry, and yesterday we gave out food to over 20 of our most neediest families that are on our free and reduced lunch program, and we're hoping that we will keep that up weekly as long as we don't end up at a major quarantine or something. We will be trying to stay with the partnership, so we will be looking for donations for the food pantry so that we can keep this up, and it's really been great how much we gave out to people yesterday. And then today the principals gave out close to 100 Chromebooks for elementary kids so that they can keep up with working with the teachers and keep that connection going and doing the work. And we're just doing the same thing the town hall is doing, looking at everything that comes up is brand new, and everything that we're doing we've never done before. So how do we pay all the employees? How do we get unemployed? Those types of things. Who should be here? Who has to go home? Do people have underlying health conditions? So it's changing daily, and it's certainly, I'll be honest with you, not the way I had planned to go out for the last 3 months of me working in the town of West Bridgewater, but it is what it is, and we're doing the best we can, and I think if we all stick together, we will get through this. So with that said, I'm gonna move on to the budget presentation so we don't spend too much of your time because I know you probably have a full agenda. I do want to explain the Student Opportunity Act very briefly, because last year when I spoke to you, we talked about, it was then called the FBRC, and we said, call your state officials, we need this to pass because we need the state to give us more money. Not just us, but everyone. We need Chapter 70 to be more equitable, and we need more money from the state. And the Student Opportunity Act, a lot of people fought for this, and it was passed by the governor in November of 19. It infuses about $1.5 billion into school districts over the next 7 years. And really, it was aimed to close the opportunity gaps. It was really touted when it was done as a giant step towards correcting inequities between wealthy and lower income communities, since it had been since 1993 was the last time that anything was done with the funding for schools in Massachusetts.
I know.
There's really 4 parts to the Student Opportunity Act, but really, for your part, it's the 2 that we really need are the Chapter 70 piece, which is the school funding formula, and they wanted it to provide adequate and equitable funding. And that's the money that we get every year that we talked about. How were they going to rearrange this formula? The second piece was there any way that additional state financial support could come to communities? And one of the ways that we wanted it was increase that circuit breaker money that reimburses our special ed costs. And the circuit breaker money, we wanted to extend that to transportation, because right now, transportation, we pay 100%. So those are some of the things that the Student Opportunity Act was looking at that would benefit West Bridgewater. Unfortunately, the governor's budget came out in January, and what we found was 85% of the increased Chapter 70 funding is going to about 35% of the districts in the state. So that's a little disappointing because we're not one of the 35%, and I'm not saying that the 35% that did get the money don't deserve it and that they don't have needs, and some of the neediest kids in the state, but in my opinion, it didn't go far enough to help everyone, because from where I sit, the kids in West Bridgewater have needs too. And just because we're not in an urban setting doesn't mean we don't have needs and that we don't need the funding. And I'll give you an example of how this works. In West Bridgewater, in FY20, we had a 9.8% increase in our Chapter 70 funding. We got about $362,000 additional in Chapter 70. This year, in the governor's proposed budget with the Student Opportunity Act, we're only increasing by 3.7% or $148,000. So it did not help the town of West Bridgewater. We got a smaller increase with the new formula. As opposed to a Brockton, which is one of those 35 districts, they had a 6.3% increase in FY20, and then went up almost double to 11.3% increase in Chapter 70 funding, $21 million with the Student Opportunity Act. So they are one of the 35 districts that got about 85% of the money. And I'm happy for Brockton. I'm a proud Brockton High School graduate, but I'm also the superintendent at West Bridgewater, and I, again, don't think it went far enough because our Chapter 70 increase went down, unfortunately. And we had put a lot of hope into this.
And then you can order it. We can go a few minutes early.
The other thing is, the Chapter 70 state increase went down. At the same time, the minimum contribution that the state is saying the town can pay actually increased this year by 7%. The increase is $533,946. So on one hand, what this formula did was look at the equitability across school districts, and what it did was it said, okay, West Bridgewater, we think your town needs to raise its minimum contribution because we're giving you less Chapter 70. So really what they're saying is, we think your town has more of an ability to pay than you were paying. and it's saying it's about 533,000. If you take the 533,000 plus the 148,000 increase in Chapter 70, you've got about $680,000 that they're saying between the school and the town, between the state and the town should increase our school budget. But what this means is that Chapter 70 will still only fund about 26% of the school budget in West Bridgewater, unfortunately. 59% is funded by the town through your general budget, and 15% is funded by our school choice funds, our grants, and our revolving account. So it really didn't change much from what we get from the state, unfortunately, and that's not great news, but I wanted to summarize that because I think there's misunderstanding out there in the state that this great bill was passed to give us more money and to fund education, and what people need to realize is it did pass and it's funding education, it's just not funding towns like us, and we're not the only ones that were left out of the pot. But we are one of the few ones that got a lower increase than we got before. So we would have been better off with the old formula. And I think, so the bottom line is the Student Opportunity Act wasn't the panacea that we had hoped for to support our school budget. It does nothing really to help increase our per pupil expenditure, and now we need to look at other ways to fund our budget. And I believe Mr. Flynn is up next to talk a little bit about that.
Good evening. The latest state financial data shows our per pupil expenditure at $13,239. And if we move forward, we have some graphs to show you, which we have seen in the past and we've shown at different presentations. The school, and the graphs look similar because really the data hasn't changed that much in the past few years. Here's a graph with our towns that are around us by 20-mile radius, and you can see where West Bridgewater is, at the bottom. Also, we move into the next graph. That's our Route 24 corridor, which we like to, people in the town used to like to think of how we rank the towns around us. And as you can see, a town like Avon, is almost $16,000. And where we are, we're still at the very bottom of that. So some of these expenditures are really not fair towards our kids. Our next slide. Excuse me. So our school budget needs are obviously in the future here. We need to think about. This year we have some increase. We need to increase the level service budgeting and not to cut it. As the definition may state, due to the changes in the student needs, the placements, enrollment, and state mandates. We understand that this is not what the selectmen were looking for as far as level service, but here are a couple more examples as we move forward of what they are and what they mean to the town. And Mrs. Hume's going to take us through some of these spins.
Am I up, Bill?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay, so some of the items that I'm going to speak to, we went over last year, but because we continue to be impacted by this expenses out of our control, they need to be repeated. So as you know, we're required to provide in the least restrictive environment a free and appropriate education for special ed students aged 3 to 22. And the student's IEP, or individualized education plan, dictates the appropriate service and placement for each student. And that placement might not be the local public school. The most unpredictable and unfunded costs for special ed are outside placements for students whose needs cannot be met within this district. We're responsible for both the tuition costs and the transportation costs associated with sending these students out of district. Some of the examples of the unpredicted costs this year that came up after we finalized our budget last June include: we had a family move to town after the start of the school year. They were here for about a month, and then they became homeless and was placed in a shelter in Framingham. Because we were the last district the 4 children in the family attended under the McKinney-Vento law, we have to pay to transport those 4 students to and from Framingham each day and continue to provide special ed services for one of the children who happens to be blind. We also had a 5-year-old move in this year who has multiple disabilities and is placed in a private school in Dartmouth. Because it's a private school, we don't have to pay the associated costs for the student this year, but we will own the cost for fiscal year 21, which, when all is said and done, totals close to $200,000. So currently, 1.5% of our population is placed in an out-of-district placement. However, this represents about $1.9 million, or 12% of our proposed fiscal year 21 budget. Circuit breaker funding is currently available from the state to supplement the local budget tuition costs above $45,000, but over the last several years, it's not been fully funded by the state. So we do get some back, but not all of it. And currently, transportation is not reimbursable under circuit breaker at all, and sometimes the transportation cost can be equal or even more than the placement itself costs, depending on if there's a need for a monitor or aid. The Student Opportunity Act that Patty went through expands the circuit breaker funding to include transportation, but the verbiage of pending available funds within the act does not leave us very hopeful that we will see any additional funding. This chart shows the anticipated out-of-district placement costs for fiscal year 21 based on what we have this year. The first column shows the number of students at that placement. We can't list the names of the placement next to the number due to confidentiality, but the list of the schools that students attend are listed at the bottom of the slide. And the next column shows annual tuition per pupil, and remember, we have no control over those tuition costs. And then there's the annual transportation cost. If it says NA, it's because the transportation isn't needed or it's a residential placement. So for example, we have 4 students at one school. Tuition is $52,620 per student plus $60,900 for transportation. So that totals $271,381 per year. Another example to point out, we have a student with severe disabilities who is in a 365-day per year residential placement with an annual cost of over $352,000. Again, the anticipated cost for these placements for fiscal year 21 is over $1.9 million. And that's $266,810 more than fiscal year 20 for out-of-district placements. And that's 2% of the increase that we're requesting. The reasons for these increases include the move-in and homeless situation I mentioned earlier. We had some changes in services and transportation for some of the kids, and each placement had increased its tuition between 3 and 5% this year. This graph shows the increase in sped services overall over the past 7 years. The blue shows the number of kids we service here. The red shows the cost of the out-of-district placement, and the orange is transportation. You can see the increase is in the out-of-district and transportation because of the increased needs of the students. We're happy to say that our in-house services, the blue, haven't gone up much over the last few years. And the reason for that is that Mr. Michael Asa continues to work hard on building capacity within our district to bring services in-house like OT and behavioral therapy instead of relying on outside agencies for these services, which cost us much more. So again, it's really the tuition costs and transportation costs that continue to hurt us. And again, we have no control over these. We have no control if tuition goes up, transportation goes up. If we can't find another district that has a student going out of district to the same place as one of our students, we have to pay for 100% of those transportation costs. We have one student that we pay $299 a day for transportation. The only transportation we could find, and by law we have to get the student there, so we have no choice but to pay it. We do go out to bid every year for out-of-district spread transportation, and we always go with the lowest cost. Oftentimes we can share transportation with another town, so we do have routes that we share with other districts. We're also able to cost share through the North River Collaborative, which we have been doing for about 8 years now. Now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Holden, who's going to highlight another area where we need to increase our budget regarding mental health needs.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will be covering mental health, which is a growing concern of our district. The here are some stats that I feel are important for you to hear. The adolescent mental health crisis is a national epidemic. Statistics over the last 10 years show 1 in 5 teens suffer from at least one mental disorder, a 17% increase in anxiety disorders, an 80% increase in reporting of major depression episodes. In addition, there are 3,069 student suicide attempts made on average each day in grades 9 through 12. And our high school, as some of you should be aware or are not, had its own such tragedy recently. In West Bridgewater, nurses' visit for mental health related issues has increased from 7% to 15% in the past 3 years. Hospitalization for mental health related issues has increased from 2 to 10 per year over the past 5 years. This year alone, the high school has had 6 withdrawals from school due to mental health issues. Less than 50% of adolescents with mental health issues receive appropriate treatment for their condition. Early identification and treatment is the key to successfully managing mental illnesses. School districts need to be the first point of care. And Dr. Oakley will now explain more how that looks for us in the future years ahead. Dr. Oakley.
Thank you. So with all that information, I mean, we wanted to bring it home because in West Bridgewater, we're no different than anywhere else in the country, and it is an epidemic. What we would like to do is add a 1.0 mental health professional, whether you want to call it a social worker or a adjustment counselor. The name really doesn't matter. It's a mental health professional. Because what we want to do is be able to combine a therapeutic mental health approach in school and combine that with education at the same time, so we don't have to send these kids out that have severe mental health disorders or severe depressive disorders or anxiety, depression. There are other things, but those are the two big ones, anxiety and depression. If we can do that programming within our own school, then we may save money by not sending kids out, and in the long run, they're better off being with their friends and their family in their own home district. So what would this person do? They'll develop programming for our at-risk students, a therapeutic environment within our school, and we don't know totally what it will look like, because depending on the culture of your school, it may look like something in one place or another, but there are a lot of good examples out there of how that person can be proactive, and maybe we can preventative and find these kids before it gets too late. They'll create and monitor a bridge program. A bridge program is a program that can help get kids back into school after they've been hospitalized. We need to reintroduce them to school, but it can't happen just that, oh, you're in the hospital, okay, go and take your regular classes and be with your kids. They need help, and that's why the bridge program would help them do that. We need that because too many kids have a hard time coming back. We right now just do in-school counseling with our psychs and maybe our guidance counselors, but this person would be licensed to be able to do home visits and actually help the children and the parents at home that are dealing with this, because oftentimes the kids will not come to school, and we have to get them back to school. They'll develop a wraparound approach to school-based mental health. What does that mean? It means that they'll be the person that can reach out to the mental health community, the agencies, the resources, because what happens is parents go, I don't know what to do, my kid won't go to school, my kid's depressed all the time, I don't know what the problem is, I can't help them, and school psychologists are not like psychologists or mental health professionals that are outside. We need to be able to give these parents the resources they need, and this mental health person can help them with that. This person would also provide mental health training to our staff, and most of our teachers went through a regular ed program, getting their teaching degree. They don't understand how to deal with these at-risk kids. They need help because they're dealing with more and more of these kids every day, and they need help in order to understand what trauma looks like, why kids are acting the way they are, and how to help them. So again, maybe we can find out what's going on before, unfortunately, it's too late. And so that's why I know that, and I talked to Mr. Marrero about this. I know that the selectmen said we want level services. This is the one position that is above level service, but we truly believe that to help our kids, we need to have this position. So we did add this into the budget, and it is over level service. And I believe Mrs. Sullivan now we'll get into the nuts and bolts of the budget part, the numbers part of the budget now. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Oakley. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So I have the responsibility of delivering the numbers associated with these needs. Dr. Oakley has explained the needs, and it has such extensive levels in our district that this is something that we do keep talking about, but it's because it's an ever-present problem. So increases over the FY 20 level service budget for the district, for the special education out of district placements is $266,810. And then what we've attributed to this mental health professional that Dr. Oakley just explained, their responsibilities would be a $70,000 increase. Next slide, please. If we put all of this together for the F21 budget summary, for FY20, the town appropriation was for $13,111,102. When we look at the FY21 proposed appropriation of $13,836,046, there's a 5.5% increase. Of that increase, the special education out of district placements accounts for 2% of that. The remainder of the budget is the 3.5% that is $458,134. Yes, we understand that this increase, the 5.5%, is a lot of money. This isn't something that we are presenting to you with a light heart either. It is something that needs to be done. It is also a piece that if we could even just look at what the state is telling us after the Student Opportunity Act, just to kind of bring some information to your attention. So last year at our town meeting, you may remember we had to ask for an additional $150,000 to close FY19 due to an unexpected special education costs, and long-term illnesses. This year, we did ask to put an article on the special town meeting, although it has been canceled due to the coronavirus, so that we could reallocate funds from 2 other school articles to cover more unexpected special education costs and homeless transportation in fiscal year 20. For years, we were able to cover these overages like these through our school choice funds. But as we told you last year, we now use every dime of our school choice money to fund our general budget, and we even deficit spend this account from one year to the next to balance the previous year's budget. We cannot continue this dependence on money coming from other towns to balance our school budget. As Dr. Oakley has said year after year, our choice numbers will not stay at this level forever. And with all of the new homes being built in town, the time has come where we are not able to accept as many choice kids as we lose through graduation. For example, this year alone, we are graduating 34 choice students, and we don't have 34 open spaces to make up the difference. What does that mean? That means decreased funds for our budget. With the new Chapter 70 formula, the state is basically saying that our town has the ability, I will say that again, the state is saying that our town has the ability to put more into the school budget. The question now is, as Dr. Oakley has presented, and as the school committee supports, do we have the desire to do that? Does our town now have the desire to appropriately fund the needs of our budget? Therefore, we are respectfully asking that you appropriately fund the needs of our budget up front so that we do not keep falling short and we can raise our per pupil expenditure to an acceptable level. Because that's what our kids deserve, and that's our responsibility as a district. I'd like to open it up for any questions from the board.
I'd just like to say, I've been on this board now for 39 years, and this seems to be the most difficult year we're gonna face here. And I'm really appeased of things that we can't do nothing, but in the future, we certainly, I'm very disappointed in the state and how they handle this formula to us, and I just hope that we can have meetings with Senator Timothy and both the Representative Michelle up in the Brockton there and discuss this with the school committee and the superintendent in the future. But there's nothing we can do about that right now. But I always found Dr. Oakley very respect as far as the budget, and he's never asked for things that only what she's needed. And I have supported this and will continue to support the school budget because he's been very fruitful. But there's things like beyond it. It's not only Chapter 76, but it seems the whole rash of things that are the transportation and everything else has gone up. And still I'm thinking about the taxpayer out there that really can't take much more. And that's why we asked for the level fund and trying to keep everything at bay. But sometimes we have to bite the bullet on some of these things. I know that I discussed with Patty on the as far as the mentally ill, and I don't want to wait till something happens and then we because it's happened in other communities, and you look at it a lot different than I because you're right there with a budget and service the kids, and so I really don't know what to say right now other than I've been a supporter of the school budget, and I will support it because my thing here with Patty, as long as she's been at the helm out there, she does not ask for something that is not needed. She's very fruitful with the town money, and I'm going to open up the discussion to my other things, but my other members here. But I found her, and of course I've known her a long time, and like I was saying, she doesn't ask for something that she doesn't need, and I will open up the discussion to my other colleagues. Do they have any comments at this time? You want to wait?
Yeah, I'll start if you want. So you hit on a few topics, but there's still a lot more things in this budget. So there's a few lines with substantial increases not related to special needs or mental health. The finance and legal line, along with the student services line, I believe. Student services up almost 100,000, 24%. Can you just explain what goes into those lines and the reason behind the increases?
Yeah, absolutely. So the student service line, let's go do the finance and legal line. The part of it is we did have to go up on our legal fees, but the bigger part is we found going through with we had a business manager that left abruptly, then we had a business manager that was left abruptly. We'll just leave it at that. So now we have another business manager. What we found is we needed a person to do our accounts payable. We had to add a 0.5 to do the accounts payable because the job was not getting done appropriately. So we have an extra 0.5, but most of that is being covered with revolving account money. So that's where the difference is in that one. The student services, is it sped services? Which one is it? Student services.
Student
correct?
services. Yeah.
Student services, okay, that's mostly athletics. One of the things is our athletic trainer was before, for some reason, put in contractual benefits, and with our new businessman, Mrs. Grant said, it really needs to be up with coaches. That doesn't make sense that it's in contractual. So that's really just been moved from one line to another. So that increased. But also, we had volleyball, ice hockey, and
Freshman basketball.
freshman basketball that was being funded. Parents brought it forward, and it was being funded by the boosters clubs and things like that. They're no longer funding those, so the school has to pick them up, so that's an increase. There's also been an addition because, and it's really because if we're gonna be doing these sports, we have to be able to be equitable, so there's an equitable, we needed to start a unified sports program. And a unified sports program, is a sports program for all kids, and it was really approached with us through our Inclusion Matters group, but also through Special Olympics, the state Special Olympics, that really is pushing that we need to have opportunities for all kids. So there's extra money in it for that. I mean, and also coaches did not get a raise, and they are getting a raise this year. They took 1 year of 0, and then there's an increase this year.
Okay, thank you. And so the mental health professional, or is that an actual psychiatrist or psychologist? Or I don't, $70,000 doesn't sound like it would get you very far.
Well, it will be, because of the way that we do our contract, they would be on the teacher scale. So what I did is I went to the middle of the teacher scale, because they have to at least have a master's or a CAGS or a doctorate, but sometimes it's a CAGS, a CAGS, and I put it on step 5. So it's really the very middle of our salary scale. If they had 4 years of experience, it would be higher, but what we would try to do is maybe get someone that I was hoping, not more than 5 years of experience or 6 years of experience, and then like a master's degree. And that would, that's about, on our scale, about 70,000.
So that, is it an actual psychologist or is it not?
It could be a psychologist, more likely with a licensed social worker type person that works in a therapeutic environment or an adjustment council. We have school psychologists, but they're different. They do more of the testing than the counseling. It sounds weird because when you say psychologist, you think they do more counseling and mental health stuff, but school psychologists don't. They do more of the testing and the neuro tests and those type of things and write up reports. That's just by definition. So this is more like a mental health social worker.
Okay, thank you.
Can we go back to the finance and legal services? I think you said the majority of the increase was due to a 0.5 FTE increase in accounts payables. How much is the additional cost associated with the 0.5 FTE?
What is that, Kathy? Because I know that is a lot of the difference because of the fact that we had a person who does benefits and payroll, but we didn't have an accounts payable. So that person's split now with us around care program, which is not in our budget. Well,
if you look at page 3 of 33, it gives the payroll, and I think that's a little bit more helpful.
So what can you just tell me the number, please?
So it's 55,000 for the accounts payable person, but they split a job with Surround Care, so they're being paid out of our Surround Care budget completely, which is a revolving fund.
Okay, so
The remaining difference of 30,000 is related to a portion of the business clerk and a portion of their the payable person. And you can see legal fees went up by about 7,000, and we were seeing a trend up in our special education parents who are bringing legal representation. So we need to be represented as well.
So if we just look at the $50,500 increase in the budget, would you say 30,000 is attributable to the AP person? Is that what I'm hearing?
A portion of the business clerk.
Okay, so 30,000 for the halftime person associated to the.
Yes, and what the budget, when we compare what was approved at the previous town meeting with what we're requesting this year, it's not always a fair comparison because in fiscal year 20, it shows $20,000 for the business clerk. Their salary was higher than that, so a portion of that was paid out of a revolving fund. This year, for fiscal year 21, we're not able to pay that out of the portion of that out of revolving fund. We're paying out of the revolving fund for the accounts payable clerk. So that's why you're seeing this increase. We're comparing apples and oranges. If we were comparing the total school budget for fiscal year 20, which would include the school contributions, and the total fiscal year budget for 21, which would include the contributions that the school gives, it would be an accurate comparison.
Okay. And back to the mental health professional. So it sounds like this may not be a person who could write prescriptions or prescribe medication if necessary.
No, we cannot in a school hire a person like that.
Okay.
A psychiatrist, not a psychologist.
So,
And we would, a school cannot have a person who writes prescriptions.
okay.
Now, maybe a big city can, but that's because they have a clinic. That's probably a clinic with the city, not a school-run clinic.
Okay. I think Jim said that there were 6 withdrawals from West Bridgewater due to mental health issues.
Yeah.
I know you can't state which students, but could you give us an example of what the issues were? How did
Yeah. Just severe depression, can't come to school, cutting, and just anxiety, and then become like almost like a school phobia thing that they just can't stay in school. And this no rhyme or reason that we can see on the outside, but we've had several cutters, and I don't know if you know that, but it's just you don't always find out, but it's like self-punishment and self-defacing their body, and just complete meltdowns that we try to work with them and try to work with home, but then all of a sudden they're home, we can't get them from home to school. But if we had someone that could actually go to their house and work with them at their house in their school, that that's what this person would also do. And it's a shame because what's happening now with a number of them is parents like, well, there's no way they can come to school, so we want a different education for the person. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to go to that school, but that's how it gets expensive, because they might say, well, if we can't get them on a bus each day to go to school, let's put them in a residential placement, then they'll already be there. And those are the types of things that we want to try to prevent from happening when it's a mental health type issue. I can't prevent a person going to a residential placement when they have multiple disabilities like, MR and autism and a lot of other things that they need a residential that they can't do, that they have so many different disabilities. But I think with being proactive and being able to be more tied into the community mental health services by a person helping us do that, and having a person be able to go to the home and navigating these things, we could prevent these kids from going out of district and hopefully bridging them back, even if they come back for a little while, but slowly bringing them back into the school system.
So if these students with the mental health, that the 6 withdrawals we had due to mental health issues, what happened with these 6 students? Did any of them end up going to out of district have out-of-district placement, or did they quit school because they were of a legal age to make that
They withdrawn,
decision?
but they have not actually quit school yet.
Oh, we can't hear you. I don't know if anyone's
It seems
talking.
like it's frozen. I think it's on their end.
Coming back, we own them, even because they live in town, and they withdraw and say, I can't come to school anymore, and we have to take them off our rolls, but doesn't mean we don't still own them. And then there's a couple of them that we are actually involved right now in team meetings where parents want them to go to out of district, and one was just placed in a school on the Cape.
Okay. What's the legal age that a student can quit school on their own now without parental consent?
Excuse me?
What's the legal age that a student can quit school without parental consent?
Well, you need parental, I mean, they'd have to, parents need consent up through 18.
Okay. Okay, so
So
they.
they can't just quit.
Okay.
Parents are involved in their education up till they're 18, so they're not, they can't be signing their own, exit notes and doing all that stuff unless they're emancipated. And the interesting thing is, kids think once they turn 18, they're emancipated and they can do all this, but they still need, we still have to get their parents' permission for them to be emancipated.
Can they quit school at 16 with parental consent?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Would this professional also be working with the state so that in the event the student's mental health condition is influenced by his home environment, they can help transition that student to or that child at that point to another home environment?
Absolutely. They would be working with not only the Department of Mental Health, but also with DCF and anything like that. But the one that really would be a very close connection, and I mean, we have a good connection, but it's hard sometimes to do it full time with the Department of Mental Health. So it would really be Mass DMH that this person would be involved in, because that does happen. And we have a case right now of a student who is in a group home, not in the home anymore with the parents, and we are transporting that child to school, but now it's from a group home versus the parents' home because it was not the best environment for the student to get that student to school.
And
We did that with DMH.
And would this person be available outside of the normal school hours? Because, a student can be in crisis after hours, and if they develop a relationship with this professional and feel comfortable talking to this professional, that crisis could happen at 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Absolutely, and that's the type of, we don't know exactly what this would look like totally yet, but but this person and what other schools have done, it's a much more flexible schedule than, 7:30, 2:30. Because 9 out of 10 times, like you just said, the real tough things don't happen 7:30, 2:30. So, it would be more of a flexible type schedule, but again, the other thing is they're also involved with community resources, so they can help late at night too. But absolutely, that would have to be available for those times.
The per pupil expenditure, what's the formula for that? What's the equation?
The formula for that is you take everything that a school spends money on, and you divide it by the number of your pupils, basically. And if you want me to send you more specific information on that, they give you a great breakdown on the district profiles on the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and it goes through, it lists every per pupil expenditure in the state, and it also does the categories of what you spend. It will actually show you specifically in each category, like teachers, like instruction, maintenance, and all that stuff. It will give you exactly the specific numbers that every school system spends in those categories, and then you divide that by your students, and that's how you get your per pupil expenditure.
Okay, so our numbers not unfairly diluted by the amount we're bringing in through school choice, is it?
No.
Okay.
Can I ask one follow-up question on just because it's on that topic?
Sure.
Do you include the it's probably close to $3 million that isn't in the school budget that is paid by the town for employee health benefits.
Yep,
That's included in there?
that's part of, yes, that's part of, net school spending and per pupil expenditure, yeah. And actually, if you go on that site, you can see that at, issue 2, and, yes, health insurance is included in per pupil expenditure in, foundation, net school spending, yes.
Thank you. Sorry, Denise.
I thought the health insurance wasn't part of the school budget, it was part of the town
Not
budget.
part of the school budget. We don't pay it out of our actual budget, but it's part of when the state, calculates foundation budget.
Okay. The only other, and it's, so having I'm just thinking out loud, Patty, having a professional, mental health person, does that provide you with the ability to bill an insurance company if this person is is a licensed psychiatrist or psychologist and we have this service in-house? Can you bill insurance?
Yeah, yes, you can bill insurance, and you can also do Medicare reimbursement for those costs. Just like even with all of our OTPTs and those things, we bill Medicare and parents, and we get reimbursement for that. So yes.
Okay, so technically, if all of the services, if all of the children are covered by insurance, this position could almost pay for itself?
No, because we wouldn't get the insurance. But it would be more the Medicaid versus the parents paying for the insurance, because we can't get their insurance.
No, I mean, can we bill Blue Cross Blue Shield or United Health?
No, we can only do it through Medicaid.
Is that a state mandate or a legal reason or?
Yeah, that's just the state regulations. So what happens is we bill Medicaid, and through that we can get reimbursement. We don't get the reimbursement, the town gets the reimbursement. It doesn't come to the school budget, it goes directly to the town. I think right now we get, I don't know, David, what do we get, like 50 or 60,000?
About $25,000.
And if we did, and that's just on our administrative claims, but if we did more claims, then you get more money for that. But it goes to the town. It doesn't come back to the school. So it's just the Medicaid reimbursement.
Thank you.
How many students do you have, Patty?
Excuse me?
How many students total?
Oh gosh, we just did the Sims report. I think it's up to like 13. It's 1376, I think. I just saw it the other day, and I'm kind of going off my memory, but I think the latest thing for the March 1 data was 1376, I think.
Okay. So it doesn't look like you included the employee benefits in the per pupil expense, because 1,376 times $13,000 is about 18 million. And your budget's what, 17? The total is 17-ish?
No, I can get you that. I can get you that information online. I'll be honest with you. I didn't.
Or you get it from the online, you don't calculate it yourself? Or you get it from the state?
I would never calculate it myself.
Okay, all right. All right, no problem.
Yes, website, but I will send you, if you want, I can email you the page with all the per pupil expenditures listed.
Okay,
But that's where I get it.
all right,
Yes.
thank you.
But we'd really, just for discussion purposes, we'd really need to look at, okay, how is ours calculated and how are other towns calculated? Because if they're, just by chance, if
Everyone
they're,
calculated the same.
oh, they're all, okay,
Yeah. The state's doing all of them, then I guess
It just depends how much money they put into each.
okay. It seems like,
Every town is calculated the same.
it seems like, and maybe I'm going back 2 years ago, but we seem to always fall in the middle of our peer communities. It was In the past, it seemed like we were a nice fit. We were in the middle of our peer communities. Are we comparing it against different peer communities?
No, this is about the same as, this is the exact same graph I did last
Okay.
year. We're actually, it's funny because we're the lowest in our, you know, by the ones with enrollment in a 20-mile radius, but if you look at the Route 24 corridor, last year we were the lowest, and this year we jumped up to third. So Freetown, Lakeville, and VR are a little lower than us. So we were actually the lowest on both last year.
What about like East Bridgewater, West Bridgewater? Are they on there?
I didn't do that. The reason I could look, yeah, they are on the list, but not on my graphs. And the reason for that is because they're bigger than us. They're not a like district to us that the state does, which is what that first graph was. And then the only reason I took the per pupil expenditure was, the Route 24 corridor was because I saw when I walked the state of the town, David uses that, so I thought that would be a good graph to use.
Okay. Could we get the number for East Bridgewater, West Bridgewater?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, if we could see, I would be interested in seeing that because they are our neighbors. Where do most of our out of district children go to outside of the special education?
What do you mean, outside of special education kids?
Yeah, outside of the special education children, where are our out of district children going to in school? We have children in school choice electing to go to Avon, Brockton.
We don't lose a lot of choice. We might,
Aggie, North, the agricultural schools?
Yeah, is that where they're going? The agricultural?
we have 4 this year that are applying for the Norfolk Agricultural, which that comes out of our budget. But school choice, we don't lose that many. What we tend to, we have in the past, kids that want sports might go to Bridgewater Reno. We have some people that live in town that teach in Brockton and they want their kids, just easier for them, so they go to Brockton, so that would be school choice. But we only have like a handful of ones that leave there. And then, so the majority of kids that leave here in 8th grade would go to Southeastern Regional Vocational.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Do you have any other questions? Dave, you have any comments?
Actually, Patty, could I just ask a question on the mental health professional? Do you know what line you're putting it in?
Yeah, it's in the high school teacher line. I think we put it in there.
High school
Because
teacher.
we don't know where to put it. I didn't know, so I just put it in high school teacher. It's going to be a middle school. Not that they won't help at the elementary, but they're going to be primarily middle, senior, high school.
Okay, and so what line is that? Is that teaching services 3230?
Yep.
I'm just looking at. I didn't want to ask the question. I was looking for it in the.
It's high school teachers.
I was looking for it in the narrative, and I didn't see it somewhere. So I apologize.
I'm sorry. High school teachers. That I probably, if we get it, we'll probably end up either coming up with our own line or going into like a school psychologist line or something. But that's something we can decide down the road if we get it.
All right, and if I know you probably don't have the number now, which is fine, but I take all the numbers at this time of the year because I got to do my benefits budget later, and I have to figure out my healthcare costs. And there's no FTEs on this. Usually on the front page, it's got the total number. Could you just maybe tomorrow? I'm sure you don't have the number. Just shoot me an email so I know it.
I will have Kathy.
I'll get the number. It's probably approximately 167 students.
Yeah, that's
There's
okay.
167 FT. Last year, I believe it was about 166.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we're looking to add 1 FT this year.
All right. Yeah.
If they're part-time, do you need to know
No.
like give you the whole thing? Would you need to know part-time because they may not do benefits? Like, you want to know that too? Like,
No. Just the aggregate number is fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, no other questions? Okay, Patty, thank you for the presentation, and if the board has no other comments, are you ready to move it to the Finance Committee? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to move this budget to the Finance Committee.
Second.
Second, and no other discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you again for the presentation, and talk to you later.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now that we've got through the educational budget, next thing on the line is the budget hearing for the Public Works.
I just texted, Chris to see
David,
if
do you
he-
want to shut that off?
Chris?
Patty, do you want to stay with us?
No, I'm trying. I would, but
Yeah,
but I am trying.
You're more than welcome to.
And there was no questions out there. They were open up for questions, and
Is anyone there?
no questions came in.
I'm
did they?
making noise on
Is there someone, did anyone dial in?
Hello, is there anyone in the teleconference? Hello, anyone there?
No, I did hear people the whole entire time, but now I don't hear
I could
anyone.
hear people talking in the background.
Maybe they
Okay,
exited.
so there was none, so it has. Okay.
No public comment period.
Okay, Public Works is the,
So I told him to try and announce when he was on. If he can't get into the teleconference, he's gonna call my cell phone, and I'm just gonna put it on speaker.
okay. So, what's your pleasure is waiting for the telephone?
Did you just talk to him now? So he's calling. He's,
I text,
okay.
I shot him a text.
All right, so he'll be calling in?
He should be.
Okay.
Chris, yeah, Kelly.
Hi, Chris, thank you. Can you hear us okay?
I can.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello?
Okay,
Hi,
Chris,
Chris.
can you work us through your budget, and we're here listening, and make your presentation.
All right. So, you want to...
Well, you know, the increases and where they are, and the usual, you know,
All right, so you want to start with the Public Works budget, which is...
yes, and work our way down.
5. And the budget really has not increased, other than contractual, all the line items are the same as last year. And we were able to take out that last line, the dam inspection, which is only done every 10 years. So that pretty much keeps the budget down to the same as it was last year.
$116.
You say 160?
Chris,
That's the total increase.
Chris, permanent salaries went down. Did someone leave?
Current salaries did not go down, no.
So it's showing a decrease. It's showing minus
$63.
0.01%.
Yeah, so I questioned this earlier today. I had Linda speak to Chris directly because I didn't have time, but in speaking to the accounting lady, Sue Kent, we fund two positions in that. We fund all of our laborers who received a 2% increase, or we're budgeting a 2% increase as we are in union negotiations. But we also funded our GIS person in there. And last year, we funded it higher, not knowing what the ultimate salary would be. So we lowered it to what the actual salary is. And so that's why the two offset each other.
Oh yeah, because last year was going to be GIS/IT person, just a GIS coordinator at a lower cost.
So really, it's more comparing it to maybe the prior year plus 2%, and then you'd get the actual increase. Because is it a 2% contractual raise?
That's what we're
The
budgeting.
contract, yep, okay. All right,
Okay, Chris, continue. We understand.
All right. Do you have any other questions on the Public Works budget?
No.
no,
You want to take individual?
Okay.
I'll wait
No,
for
let's
all
just
of
wait
it.
for all of his.
Wait
Let's
for
let
all.
him go
All right,
for
Chris, continue. Public Works snow removal.
Yeah, snow removal, obviously, we had sent the letter back sometime maybe in December, January to override that 91.3, which we have. However, it has been a very good winter for snow budget, and I don't have the exact number right now, but that was given by Sue today, and we haven't had a very limited call in this past month of February and March.
I know it's been traditionally that in the past there, that we kind of underfund that budget anyhow, and kind of wait to see what happens, and that's worked out over the years, I know, you know. And
Yep.
sometimes people,
And
you know,
it's
will
pretty,
question
pretty
me
low this year, so.
on the budget, and if we don't have any snow, and where's the money? So I tell them that sometimes we don't, you know, really ask for a lot in there, and we kind of wait to see what happens, you know. And then sometimes that's why you have a cost overrun sometimes, you know, during the year. Okay, Chris, that's unless the board has any questions. If not, we're moving on to Public Works, street lighting.
Okay, so then you have waste disposal. The cost of disposal has gone up considerably, and it's going to be a very tight budget this year. When we did this budget, since we did this budget, the rates have gone up, I believe, a couple of times, and it's going to be very tight. And it's going to be a budget budget that we're going to need to look at different ways of raising revenue, I think, for the transfer station.
Well, as far as that goes, there's going to probably be a change. I haven't had a chance to talk to you. I know you've been busy. I've been busy. But we have Joe Cardinal looking into it, the LEDs, which run cheaper, and I hope we can save some money in that line there, and get the LED lights in here. It's a better light too, you know, and maybe
Okay,
we can save
you're talking about
a little
the
bit
lighting.
there. I'll be talking to you along the road with this, and I'll stop in, you know.
Alrighty.
So unless
So then I was.
the board has any questions, then we can move on.
No, yeah, let's move on to transfer station.
Waste disposal, yeah, transfer station.
Okay, that's actually what I was just speaking on. I had missed the streetlight budget, but the transfer station has gone up considerably in the last few months on the cost of disposal. Hauling is still at the same rate, and I would assume that a budget, if you wanted to, it's going to have to be looked at. I think the rates that we're charging going in there.
Well, basic charge, what, is 85 now, or?
Yeah, 85.
Okay.
And we are offering the same service as last year with the brush removal through May 15th. You know, we're encouraging recycling as best we can. We've got our new sign down there, and we hand out flyers, and we do spot checks. It's about the best we can do the way it's set up now.
What do you think the figure should be? Do you have any idea of?
That would, I think, require, and I think David's probably looked into quite a bit. We need to really sit down as a group, look at what other communities are doing, and try to come up with, if we want this budget to be self-sustainable with the fees, we really need to look at some alternative ways, because not that I want to see things increase, but it's just not keeping up with it.
Okay, so we'll have to look at that line then, okay?
So,
Anything else? Denise, you have any questions?
well, I'm just wondering, understanding what's going on with the whole waste industry, is line 5291 a good solid number, or do you think with what's happening, we may be looking at alternative services and a significant or a significant increase?
I think we're going to be very close this year with what we thought in that budget. We never can tell what they're going to do next. They can send a letter out and send a request for an increase with no warning. A lot of it has to do with how they're dealing with their end as well. What their costs are. And it's definitely going to be going up. It's not going to be coming down. So, like I said, when we put this budget together, we were in pretty good shape, but rates have gone up even since then. So, we're trying very hard, I think, to live within this budget for the rest of this year.
Yeah, so Selectman Raise, you can see that we normally carry about an extra $30,000 in that account. And the reason we do is because, not necessarily because the rates may increase, but whenever we're busy, and right now we're in a growth period, the transfer station gets more waste. And so I've always said, come May, I can't shut off the transfer station. It's one of you can never shut that off.
Yeah.
So I've always carried a little extra money in there. In the past, that was helpful. This year, it's helpful because we can sustain this increase. I've already done a survey to a handful of other towns, and there's only a couple of choices, and they're all within $5 or $6 of what we're currently paying. So I got to go out to bid and try to take a look at it. But the bottom line is, we're gonna have to increase this line, and we're gonna have right now we will have zero margin of error. So I'm gonna have to add a little bit to it. So next year we have a little bit of margin of error for one, if the fees go up again, which may happen, and two, is that if we continue to experience growth, there's always more waste. So we'll have to look at that number. So when we do the final budget numbers,
So
you'll probably see an
solving it
increase.
right now then.
So we're probably looking at a slight increase on this budget versus this number.
Correct. We've kept it
Okay.
at this number for 4 years in a row since we negotiated that last contract. I've never moved it, but this year we'll have to move it.
Okay, any other questions on the waste disposal? Nope. Okay, let's move on to the tree warden, Chris.
Tree warden, right as it is, $400.
Okay,
All right.
any questions on that?
I'll make a motion to send all the DPW budgets to the finance committee.
Second.
Second, any other discussion? Anything else you want to say, Chris, or calling for the vote to move this to the finance committee? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Chris, for all you do.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, you're welcome, Eldon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Good night. Okay.
Good night.
Yeah, good night. Okay, Bud Hammond, Community Preservation Committee.
Yep, so we're texting her right now. It's we believe it's going to be Cheryl Cambria,
Yeah.
and Cheryl is the chair of the CPC.
Ellen, what do you think about doing the other ones while we're waiting? Moderator and Cheryl.
Yeah, we'll move to the moderator while we're waiting for Cheryl.
So if it's okay, I'll most of these are small, 2 of them are not. The moderator is $588, that's level funded. Insurance's budget we're budgeting a 5% increase. I went out to bid last year, we actually saved some money, you can see that in the previous line. I'm always fearful in year 2 that they hit us higher, and I also have to keep money in there in case we have any claims for deductibles. Sealer of weights and measures is about $6,000, it's up less than 2%. The Historical Commission's budget is $1,750, that's level funded year over year. State county assessment and charges, that's basically what we receive in state aid. That is both the credits that we receive along with the offsets. So our receipts, which is about $6.6 million, is up $231,000 year over year. Our charges, however, is also up. That's $60,000. So a net increase to the town is $170,000.
Hi, Cheryl. Just one second. If you can hold on for a second, please.
Sure.
Our benefits budget, which is the largest budget on the town side, is $6.5 million. That's up 6%. There's really only two real drivers in there. One is what our retirement responsibilities are. That's set by the Plymouth County. It goes up 8% every single year up until 2033. And if the actuarial tables are accurate, in 2033 we'll be fully funded, and then you're going to see a vast decrease in that budget. And the other one is our health insurance. We're budgeting a 5% increase this year, which for health insurance is pretty reasonable. And then our capital budget report, I provided that document. The chair of that committee is Selectman Kinahan. There was a handful of requests. We approved $386,000 in total, $347 on the town side, which we will recommend for free cash. We'll discuss that more when we get to the warrant articles. The difference of $41,000 was coming from the water department.
Okay, any other questions on that? Do we have a motion to move all those forward to the,
So moved.
is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, Cheryl, you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, Selectman Alvin Marrero, you have the floor. We want to hear from you now.
Thank you.
Okay.
You know that I typically come in and tell you about the applications that we have being presented in front of the CPC. And this year we have 3 applications. One is from the town clerk for another $10,000 to continue with the records preservation, and the same with the assessors. The second application is for $10,000 from the assessors, and they'll be looking to continue with their records preservation as well. The third project is from the Conservation Commission, who's working with the state fisheries, and it's for $17,500, and it is related to Skim Mill Bridge, and they're going to, they want to prep the paperwork to get that structure on the National Register of Historic Places, as well as to look into what types of engineering controls might be needed for preservation of that bridge. We have about $185,000 in projected revenues for next year, and the projected match is about $20,000 to $30,000. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions of,
No.
How much do we have accrued in that fund, in the CPA fund?
I'm not sure of the total. Right now we have about $175,000 in the unreserved. We have about $26,355 in the open space bucket. The historical bucket is low. It doesn't really have any cash in it. That's been a big, there's been a lot of projects for historical preservation in the past. And then housing has $137,440 currently in their bucket. So we have those plus the projected revenues of $185,000 plus the projected match. Would give you an estimate of what we have going into town meeting to spend.
What could we use housing for? What were the type?
Housing, I generally ask our preservation consultant to look at, because it's very specific on what you can use the money for. I believe it was 2 years ago they came up with one project and it was not eligible. Of course, they did do the generator for their building over there, and I believe they're still working on the it's late. The patios, or the what would you call them?
The balconies. The balconies, Cheryl.
The balconies. Thank you, David. So I don't think they've finished all of them, but I'd have to check. So there are definitely things you can do. You can also use the money for habitat for building houses. And that's something we might look into in the future, or they might want to look into in the future. So.
okay, any other questions? If there's no other questions, do you have anything else? I'll ask
No,
the...
that's it. We have
I'll
just
ask
the three
the,
projects this year, so.
I asked my board to send this on to the FinCom.
So moved.
Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, no other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks, Cheryl. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Yeah, okay. Okay, again, I want to see, is there any questions on the line to us or anything coming in? Would you check that?
Does anyone on the teleconference have any questions?
Nothing on the, okay, so, vote on the water withdrawal permit. I guess that's the next thing on it.
Yep,
Dave?
so our water department, the Mass DEP has set a baseline as to how much water we can withdraw that is then resold back into the public. The town of West Bridgewater has plenty of water. However, we're still restricted by the amount of water that we can actually sell according to Mass DEP guidelines. In order to exceed it, which we need to because we're experiencing growth, is that the Mass DEP is requiring that we set aside land for mitigation to continue to allow water to be recharged into the water system. So as a result, what we did was we looked with Conservation Commission. We found 18.95 acres of land off of South Elm Street. It's wet. It's not going to ever be developed. It's owned by Conservation. We would never do anything with it. So what we're going to do is we're asking this board to agree that we set that land aside in perpetuity, that it will never be built on, and by exchanging that land, it will allow our water department to be able to discharge more water and receive the Mass DEP permit.
Okay,
So is this getting the right amount of credits? Is this more credits than we need to give?
Just a tad more, but yes.
But not,
It's not a perfect match, but yes.
so what's the difference roughly?
I think it's only like 1 or 2.
Okay. So I know you had talked about a different parcel a few weeks ago,
That is correct. The
but it's
original.
not that.
That is
had the-
correct. We
okay.
changed it.
All right.
Denise, any
Yes,
questions?
No
No
questions.
questions? Is there a motion to move that
I'll
forward?
make a motion to move that forward.
All right.
Second.
Second? Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No voted. Okay, on the next one, I want to change the date to, instead of February 20th to the 19th. Vote to approve meeting minutes of February 19th, 2020.
And just to be clear, there was no February 20th meeting. It was
Yeah.
just a Scrivener's error.
Okay, okay. Thank you for the explanation.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, vote to accept and review minutes of March 4th, 2020.
So move.
Is
Second.
there a second? Discussion? If there's none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Okay, a policy on CPS on all town vehicles, I think we're gonna table that, Dave, is that
Please.
your request? Okay, that's a table, don't require any vote. Vote on George Russo, transit vendor's application for sale of seasonal plants, April 12th, 2020 at Huckabee Plaza.
Yep, so Mr. Russo would like to be able to sell his seasonal plants on that date, April 12th. He's come before the board and made that request in the past, so we're just asking you to do the same. He's paid the applicable fee.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a second, any discussion, all's in favor?
Aye.
Okay, on this next one there, Dave and I have talked there, I'm gonna declare local state of emergency, and Dave, working with Dave, and David explained the whole thing. And,
Yeah, so I think it's important to note, at this point, we have not had any confirmed viruses in this town. We do, obviously, in neighboring towns. There's been at least 1 confirmed in Easton and 2 confirmed in Brockton. I have no doubt that more will pop up. The reality is I'm not asking this board to declare the emergency because of something that is exactly going on inside this town. However, because of what the concerns are, it may very well happen that we have to either do an emergency procurement, we may have to spend money that we don't have an exact appropriation for relating to this virus, and we may have to just have an emergency meeting. And at a later date, the federal government may make money reimbursable back to us, and therefore we want to declare a state of emergency.
Right.
The last is that some business owners in town, first of all, we know many businesses owners in town that are small businesses. They're hurting right now because of what's going on, and I want to be pretty sensitive to them, and I know this board is. As a result, some of them will carry an insurance for lost revenue. So it is hopeful that by declaring this state of emergency, that some of those clauses for their respective insurance companies may kick in and be able to provide them some type of relief. So again, it's important for us to declare it, have it signed, And that way, if we can help a business or two, that would be fantastic. But in general terms, is qualify for any federal funds in the future and have the flexibility to be able to maneuver under the umbrella of a state of emergency if we need emergency procurement or we have to spend some money that we weren't normally appropriated for.
Okay, is there anything else that the board would like to bring up at this time? Or any
No,
comments?
so we need I'll make a motion to declare a state of emergency.
A
Okay,
second.
I'm sorry, I should have got the vote. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so voted. Okay, is there anything on the protocol? Call in, second.
Anyone on the teleconference want to address the board?
I have a question, David. If you do declare to shut down town hall, does that mean you will also close the dump?
No. My intent is the only buildings that I would look at closing would be the town hall, the council on aging, and the library. Public safety would remain operational, and our DPW department still has the ability to cut the grass, do catch basins, and not interact with each other. They'll stay 6 feet apart. There's no reason to shut DPW down. If I'm not shutting DPW down, then the transfer station will remain open as well.
Okay.
Okay, is
So I just.
any other
if-
thing to bring up before this board?
One more thing. So if town hall does shut down, and for some reason someone has an emergency, they need to talk to the Board of Health, they need to talk to the building inspector, whatever the case may be, what do?
Yeah,
Will
so-
they be working from home? Will someone be available?
Yeah, so everybody's still going to be required to work and be available for work. And so if there is an emergency, normally they would call 911, which means that they would reach our police department. And we will make sure that our police dispatcher, which they already have, but we'll make sure the police dispatcher has those permanent numbers so we can reach out to both of those people or anybody else.
So, but, I mean, you really don't want anyone calling about their permit.
Well, those who
To
will just
go
won't
to
be doing.
police department, so can they call the department head? Do the department heads have cell phones?
They only have personal cell phones. We do not issue town cell phones.
Okay.
So I think the right thing to do is that in reference to permits, is that they should send an email over to the building department because they will still be required to work, so therefore they should still be monitoring their emails.
Okay, so when if town hall does close and there's a posting, can we make sure we list the respective email addresses
We will.
for all of the departments? Okay.
So, and if we do close, he won't be doing inspections anyway, right?
So I'll have that conversation with them. I do not want,
It's not safe to come to work, it's not safe to do an inspection.
I think we have to look at it as a case-by-case basis. I don't want to if somebody's looking for their certificate of occupancy and they're looking to close, I don't want to see someone not be able to close, so.
Same thing with the septic. If they're doing the septic over and they need, I mean, that's a time-sensitive thing as well, isn't it, from the Board of Health? Or I don't know who inspects septic systems. Is it Board of Health?
They do.
So if there's a repair being done and they need that,
We established a set of protocols for all inspectors and met with the inspectors the other day. So I feel comfortable, and they felt comfortable, the protocols we put in place would keep them safe. Again, nothing's ever guaranteed, but I do think we'd have to be on a case-by-case basis. I feel strongly that when it comes to, especially residential, but when it comes to those inspections, to make sure we don't hold somebody up from being able to, again, if it's a bathroom renovation, they're probably not going to call. They're
right,
just going to use it.
right.
If it's done. But when it comes to especially building, I don't want to hold up people, and I certainly do not want to hold up closings. I've talked to the fire chief. He's on the same page. They'll obviously be there anyway, but because they have to do the smoke detectors, and they will go in at the end to make sure that the closings happen as well.
Okay, I'd just like to add that at the first meeting, I always be aware that this meeting is being recorded for use on internet and on the local cable station. I'd like to enter that into the minutes of this meeting. Is there anything else that would like to bring up? Dave, got anything else?
I do not.
Anthony? Denise?
No?
Oh, I don't think you're all coming in here. We're pretty well separated here, so So another meeting is concluded. Thank you, everybody, and is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you to cameraman. Okay. Well, I think overall, I guess it went pretty good, huh?
I guess so.
Any comments?